creating a project with the IoT Solution Optimizer is quite simple. Essentially, you give it first a name. So let's call it, for example, Samsung temperature sensor. Then you select the country where you want to deploy it. With our IoT Solution Optimizer, it's possible to select more than one market. You can pick markets, for example, like Germany, Poland, Czech Republic, many of our affiliates in Europe. Or if you're interested, you could even pick the US market because we also have T-Mobile US on board. The next step is you pick the technology that's supported in every market. So in this case, in the IoT Solution Optimizer, we're focusing on mobile IoT, which is one of the most challenging technologies that exist for building products, because here we have to have really power efficient solutions. So this is why it's important to work with partners like Samsung. You would select the vertical, so in this case, condition monitoring. And then you have a choice. You can either build your own product, or you can select one already on the product shelf. So let's say I want to build my own product. So there, I'll go ahead and select that option. First step is to pick modules. So there are many great suppliers that we have certified. We have the largest portfolio of certified modules in the world, and many of them have been integrated into the service. So let's take Telit, for example. If we take one of their products, it's possible to select it here. You can also learn from the partner. We have the opportunity for you to contact them directly by downloading their specs. So if you want to get in contact with Samsung, you can also contact them that way. The next step after doing that is you configure the rest of the power consumption. You see, most of the power consumption is not actually happening in some cases inside of the module. It's all of the rest of the hardware. So the MCU, sensor, power consumption. We actually have all the data of all the projects, and we can give best practice implementation guidance to customers in case they're not sure what to put here. But usually device suppliers, they have a pretty good idea. Once you enter in, for example, the average current consumption in wake-up mode and sleep mode, then you can proceed next to select the battery. So as part of that process, we're working very closely with a company in France called Saft. Saft is one of the industry leaders for lithium technology batteries, and we have actually leveraged off of their knowledge. So you can pick a Saft battery here if you would like to use it, or you can actually pick your own custom battery. Let's do that, for example. So the custom battery, we have some pre-configured values, but it's also possible for you to specify the voltage, the capacity of the battery, and the self-discharge. And the next step is you start configuring the way the application communicates with the cloud. You can start off by dragging and dropping uplink payload or downlink payload into the chart. You can specify how many bytes you want to transmit and in the order. And once you're done with that, the next step is basically to specify the protocol that you will use. Now the interesting thing is that a lot of companies are not really sure what to use here. A lot of companies are used to working with HTTP and TCP/IP. And here with the tool, we can actually give them best practice guidance on how to pick even more efficient solutions. So for example, solutions based on UDP, or even non-IP data delivery if it's supported by the product. So by selecting this, they can actually see how the protocol impacts the overall size of the payloads that they're trying to transmit. So next step, for every network that you're trying to deploy this solution on, we have rules that actually control how much payload can be sent and how often they can be sent. This is basically to ensure that our networks do not get congested, and so that we can offer the service level agreements that we promise to our customer. So we have actually built this best practice guidance into the UI to guide customers to understand how often they can communicate with the payloads that they want to transmit. And by modifying it here and putting what they need, the next step is actually to configure the power saving features. Power saving features, they may sound great, but actually more is not better. In some cases, some power saving features are very suited only for very specific use cases. With the IoT Solution Optimizer, you can quickly learn what is the right feature to use for your use case. But it's not only that you can learn by just maybe seeing the names and configuring, we even have an inbuilt wiki that gives you guidance, so it teaches you what each feature does and how to configure it. We're also offering best practice configuration upfront to the users. And then the last step in the flow is to specify the deployment scenario for the product. So you specify the percentage of the time that it's outdoor, indoor, deep indoor, as well as mobility. If you're going to be static or moving, we can model the impact of cell reselection, tracking area updates, and roaming for network scans. And once you're done with that, you can see a really nice configuration summary telling you what are all of the components that you've designed and how the application should communicate. And then within the snap of a finger, you get detailed results for your design, performance results, telling you clearly how many years of battery life you will get in the different coverage enhancement levels, and also telling you where you can start optimizing. Whenever you build your own design, we are also showing pie charts for the different coverage enhancement levels, telling exactly where the power consumption is happening. So you can quickly identify if it was because of the network, because of the application communication protocol, or even because of the MCU sensor power consumption or chipset. And this is actually the first step in getting people to be hungry of wanting to optimize. The next step is clearly showing customers very rapidly all the different opportunities and possibilities to optimize their products. So we can quickly show them, for example, what if scenarios. What happens if they vary the hardware power consumption? Or what happens, for example, if they change the frequency of communication? Within seconds, we can show them what happens if they communicate more frequently or less frequently. In fact, we can draw these curves and tell customers clearly and simply, in simple terms, how to optimize their design. PSM activity timer or EDRX timers, what if it's shorter or longer? All of these things are covered. And last but not least, also the application payloads. We talk and work with many suppliers and service providers that invest heavily to try to optimize the solutions, and these types of insights can actually help them get faster time to market and avoid common mistakes. And this is what we try to do with the solution. We try to empower the industry and connect our partners to customers that are looking for great solutions. Thank you very much.